Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Hey, welcome to Saturday morning and the Dr. Sem Yankees Show. Well, this is the post-mortem. It's all over, and the long, cold, lonely winter is upon us. You know, when they say, wait till next year, I don't think people realize how long you have to wait till next year. It's a year away. It's not just, well, we'll get them next year. I think you say that when the team fails in September or whatever. Hey, we'll get them next year. And next year doesn't seem that far away because you think spring training. But my, oh my, when you lose in the World Series, well, next year isn't next winter when spring training begins, or next spring when the baseball season begins, or next summer when you're in the heat of the pennant race and the trade deadline and all of that, or next September as the season winds down, or next October as the playoffs begin. I mean, to get back to the World Series, it's next year. My goodness, the Yankees came so close. I mean, they didn't really come that close because they got hammered by the Dodgers, but the Yankees came so close. But before we get to all of that, let's make today a great day. How do you make your day great? Well, the simple solution that I found is you look for the good around you. When you take the time to look for the good, you'll notice that there's lots of good. We spend lots of time thinking about the things that aren't good. And I don't think we spend enough time looking around at the things that are good. And the good things, when we notice them, help us to make each day great. But I know some people are out there and they're saying there is no good. I can't find any. Well, then make your own good. Do something nice for somebody else. And when you do that, you're creating good. I firmly believe that when we give love, it comes back to us, and it comes back to us in greater amounts than we ever gave. The same is true for respect. The same is true for understanding. The same is true for empathy. The same is true for kindness. When we give, those things come back to us in greater amounts than we ever gave. So give kindness, and then you'll be a long way to making your day a great day. All right. The Yankees had some great days in 2024. They won their fair share of games and they made it to the World Series. And when you make it to the World Series, you've obviously accomplished something. But I think the World Series proved beyond doubt that the Yankee approach isn't working if the goal is to win World Series. Now, that's an obvious statement. They haven't won a World Series since 2009, so obviously it's not working. But until this year, people had been discounting the Dodgers. Whenever I would bring the Dodgers up, they would discount the Dodgers. And they'd say, yeah, I know. They go get all the great players. They got Ohtani. They got Yamamoto. They got Betts. They got Freddie Freeman. When there's a player to get the Dodgers, get them. They don't care. They spend. They act like the way the Yankees used to. But people would discount that, and they would say, yeah, but they haven't won a World Series. Even with all that, they haven't won. And then you'd say they won in 2020, and they say that doesn't count. That was a fake year. That was a truncated year. It was a world championship that's not legitimate. Well, now they have a legitimate world championship. Does that legitimize 2020? I think it does. I thought 2020 was legitimate anyway. Just as 1981, when there was a strike and they came back and the Dodgers won the World Series that year, coincidentally, I thought that was legitimate. The Yankees were in the World Series. If they had won, I would have thought that was legitimate. But now we have the Dodgers winning it in 2020 and 2024, and most often being the best team in the National League West, if nothing else, but most often the National League itself for years on end, because they go for it. The Yankees go for it. They don't really go for it. They go sort of for it. They try their best, sort of, kind of, maybe. But what we saw in the World Series is that the Yankees' approach just isn't a great approach if the goal is to win championships. And even though they made the World Series, I don't think the Yankees' approach is a great approach to even reach the World Series. 2024 was not a great year for the American League. I've said this for weeks and months, that the Yankees were the least mediocre of a league of mediocre teams. They weren't a great team. And the fact that they beat the Royals and the Guardians to get to the World Series, I think, shows that. The Dodgers were a much better team. But the difference isn't even all of that. It isn't that the Dodgers got Ohtani and the Dodgers got Yamamoto, etc. It's the fact that when the Dodgers play, they play baseball hard. When the Yankees play, they play. If good things happen, it's great. But if good things don't happen, the manager says, oh, we look good. He just missed that fastball. I know he gave up 37 runs on the mound, but I felt this stuff was really good. I know he walked 93 batters, but he was really commanding around the strike zone, an inch or two either way, and he might have really had a good game. We see the Yankees don't hustle. We see the Dodgers hustling all the time. And I think the result is the Yankees lost because they played a better team that was run better by players who seemed to care more about winning. A lot was made about Anthony Rizzo giving that big speech. He gave a big speech when he was on the Cubs, and then they went to win the World Series. I think a lot of these stories the media comes up with are nothing more than talking points. If they come to fruition, then people say, oh, yeah, it was Rizzo's talk. And then people have things to write newspaper articles about. And they say, oh, it was Rizzo's big talk in the locker room. And if it doesn't come to fruition, they just sort of forget that it ever happened and they never mention it again. Did you ever notice that? That's what happens. They decide on a story, they push the story, they talk about the story incessantly, and then if it doesn't really play out that way, though they try very hard to make sure it does, then they just ignore it. But anyway, I like Anthony Rizzo. And for the record, I've been critical of Aaron Boone. I've been critical of DJ LeMahieu. I've been critical of Aaron Judge. Doesn't mean I don't love these guys as players and as the manager of the Yankees and people I root for. Of course I do. But you also have to be honest when you talk about the team. And of course, who doesn't like Anthony Rizzo? But you want to talk about not hustling. You know, in game one, and we talked about this last week, there was a play that changed the course of the game, a throw that came into second that Gleyber Torres didn't really do the right thing on. He sort of tried to swing and catch a ball on a short hop instead of getting in front of it. The ball bounces away. Shohei Ohtani sees the ball bouncing away, sees there's no one there to pick it up, and runs to third. And then he scores the game-tying sacrifice fly when Mookie Betts flies out. How come the ball bounced away and there was nobody there? Oh, Anthony Rizzo wasn't where he was supposed to be. Why wasn't he? It can't be that he didn't know. A Little League first baseman knows where to play. Was it that there's just not this fire on the Yankees, this sense like I've got to give my all 24 hours a day, always? I have to be fully invested for 9 innings. The Yankees don't play that way. And then, of course, we know about the 5-run 5th inning that doomed their season, the ground ball to Rizzo that he sort of let play him. Now, I know it was top spin and all this, but he didn't show a lot of fire, and then he got it. And then Mookie Betts was safe. Now, again, a lot of the blame for that goes to Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole has to cover first base on that play. He has to. Every pitcher from Little League on knows you have to run as hard as you can to get there. And Rizzo had to have expected that his pitcher was going to be there. But neither one of them, is my point, showed that sense of urgency. Note, that play only happens for the Dodgers because Mookie Betts ran hard the minute he hit it. A slow ground ball to first base, and Mookie Betts down 5-0, I think, at that point. Maybe it was 5-1. But it was the last out of the inning, and I think it was 5-0. Mookie Betts busted it down the line. He ran as hard as he could. That's what made the play the play. Everyone's talking about Rizzo not doing his job well, and he didn't. Everybody's talking about Cole not doing his job well, and he didn't. But not many people are talking about the fact that Mookie Betts made that play happen because he hustled. And that's something. You can be the biggest Yankee lover in the world. You can be the biggest Aaron Boone supporter in the world. You can be the biggest Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo supporters in the world, whomever and whatever. Ask yourself this: which Yankees on a slow ground ball to first that would have been the last out of the inning, would have run hard down the line to even make it a play. Would Gleyber Torres have run hard down the line? I know we all have to bow at the altar of Giancarlo Stanton. Would Giancarlo Stanton have rushed down the line? On and on. Name the Yankees that would have busted it down the line on that play. I don't think there's many. I don't know if there's any. How many Yankees do you see busting it down the line on slow ground outs to first? I don't think I've ever seen it. Not with this iteration of the Yankees. And that falls 100% on the way the team is managed and coached. That falls 100% on the way the team is managed and coached. More on that in a moment. Hey, you see my shirt, Sesame Workshop. Tomorrow, November 3rd, 2024, I will be running the New York City Marathon. That's me and my good buddy Elmo. I will be running for the Sesame Workshop. I'm running to earn money for the Sesame Workshop so that the people at the Sesame Workshop can continue to do the great work they do helping children. Please, I'm begging you, nicely, go to Start Spreading the News. If you go to that site, you will see that same graphic, that same picture of Elmo and I. Click on that picture, or right underneath it is a link that brings you to the fundraising page for Sesame Workshop. And please find it in your heart to give generously to the Sesame Workshop so that they can continue their great work educating children around the world. And of course, in the United States. I think virtually every single person in this country has happy memories of watching Sesame Street or hearing the great songs from Sesame Street or loving the characters from Sesame Street. And so, again, I need to stress this. I'm not supporting Sesame so that I get in the race. I was already in the race. I'm supporting Sesame because it's a worthwhile cause. I could run the race just to run it, which I do sometimes. But what I want to do this year is run the race to support a wonderful cause. I've run for the United Way. I've run for the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. I've run for some local charities. I've run for the American Heart Association. I've done a lot of running for great causes over the years. I've never run for Sesame before. And while I'm going through those 26.2 miles over the streets of New York City, I'd love for people to be using what I'm doing as a way, as an excuse, as a reason to give generously to the Sesame Workshop. Please go to Start Spreading the News, click on that picture of Elmo and I or the link right below it, and find the way to make a nice donation for something bigger than all of us, something that's going to help children, help kids learn. I can still count to 10 in Spanish, not because of my Spanish instruction in high school. No. I learned how to count in Spanish by watching Sesame Street when I was a little kid. And it stuck with me forever. So many kids can learn from Sesame. Please help them. with their mission. Please help me help them with their mission. Thank you. I appreciate it greatly. All right, to the big point. The Yankees are unprepared when they're playing. They don't play with a sense of urgency. They miss fundamental situations where they know what to do intellectually, instinctively, couldn't get the word out, and yet they don't do it. And there never seems to be a consequence. After game one, did you hear Aaron Boone in any way, shape, or form say we have to play better fundamental baseball? Anthony Rizzo needed to be there so that ball didn't roll there, so Ohtani didn't go to third? Did you hear that at all? Did you hear criticism, maybe you did, of Cole not covering first base? No, that's not how the Yankees operate. Aaron Boone is always sunshine and rainbows. And there's a time and a place for that. People accuse me of that. Oh, everything's good to Dr. Sem. And for the most part, it is. Look to the good. I say it every week. But sometimes you have to confront reality and say, no, that wasn't good. And when you're a leader, the manager of the New York Yankees, you have to say to people, if you're the principal of a school, you have to say to people, I know you're great. I love you for what you do. I appreciate all your efforts. But that wasn't great. That's an area we need to do better. And that area, you need to step it up. But that's not the Yankees. They're fundamentally flawed. And they've been fundamentally flawed. This is the point. For 7 years. For 7 years, it's been the same thing. They lose games because they're not prepared, because they make fundamental baseball mistakes. And because they don't hustle. Mookie Betts was safe. Yes, because of Rizzo. Yes, because of Cone. But really, because he hustled. Ohtani got to third. Yes, because Juan Soto's throw short-hopped Gleyber Torres. Yes, because Gleyber Torres didn't get in front of the ball. And yes, because Anthony Rizzo was out of position. All of that's true. But he got to third because the minute he got there, he saw the ball, saw no one was there, and he hustled. The Yankees don't hustle. They haven't hustled like that during the entire Aaron Boone era. And that is why it is time, my dear friends, Yankees, it's time. I'll be running an article in the coming days or weeks. We have so many articles coming in that I'm running out of places to put them. But we will have an article that I will repeat from years ago that I repeat every year on Start Spreading the News that demonstrates that Aaron Boone has had a longer leash than any Yankee manager in the history of Yankee managers without winning a World Series. No one has gotten this kind of time. No one ever in the history of the Yankees. Well, that's Steinbrenner. No. In the history of the Yankees, that's Jacob Rupert. That's Del Topping and Dan Webb and Lee McPhail. That's in the history. That's CBS. In the history of the Yankees, George Weiss. This is all the Yankee history. No manager has been able to be a Yankee manager that long without bringing home the prize. There's a sense when you run the Yankees that the manager has to help you win the big games. He has to help you win the World Series, and Aaron Boone hasn't done it. And yet they bring him back year after year. And if the Yankees kept getting close, you'd say, well, they're just getting close. And if the Yankees were getting close and failing because that's just the way baseball is, then you'd say, hey, it's just been bad luck. But it's not been bad luck. It's been bad preparation. It's been a lack of fundamentally sound baseball. It's been guys getting thrown out on the bases for no reason. It's about teams, the team, not hitting in the clutch and leaving guys on bases all over the place. It's about the third base coach sending Giancarlo Stanton home on a single to left field. It's about the contact play with a man on third and less than 2 outs and always sending him no matter what and having it fail almost 99% of the time. And I'm making that statistic up, but it sure seems that way. And the common denominator to all of that, the team that doesn't play fundamental baseball, the team that makes mistakes all over the place, the team that has players out of position, the team that doesn't hustle, is the manager who, when all of that happens, says, yeah, well, tomorrow's another day. It's all good. It's right there in front of us. Can someone please tell Aaron Boone that he's been saying that for years and he's never gotten there? It's right there in front of them, and now it's going to be right there in front of them for another season. I mean, how many years can you keep going to the same approach that hasn't worked? And it hasn't worked. Aaron Boone might be the nicest guy in the world. He might be the most fun. He might be the greatest guy to hang out with. But he's had 7 years to bring the Yankees to a world championship, and he hasn't done it. He has not delivered. And it's time then to get a new voice in there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a quick hook. Again, no managers lasted this long with the Yankees without delivering a world championship. None. Ever. And yet Aaron Boone goes on and the Yankees, we'll do it again. And here's something else. Oftentimes managers don't do well in their first iteration, and then they go to another franchise or 2 more franchises, and then all of a sudden they win, like Joe Torre, like Casey Stengel. That happens all the time. You don't necessarily win with your first job. It's the next one or the one after. So rather than being something that's mean and horrible to Aaron Boone, it might be the best thing for Aaron Boone because it gives him a chance to start over. It gives him a chance to say, these are where I made the mistakes. And sometimes in leadership, you make certain mistakes and then you're sort of boxed into, that's how I'm doing it. Like, yeah, that's the way I'm doing it because that's what everybody's used to. And I can't really change that approach anymore because that's my style here. But if you go somewhere else, you can do it differently because you get to start over from scratch. And one last point. We talk about how many wins the Yankees have had in the Aaron Boone era. That's what his supporters will say. But what no one can answer, because there isn't an answer, we don't know. If there were a different manager, managing slightly differently, holding the players accountable, stressing the fundamentals, maybe, just maybe, the Yankees would have won a World Series or so these last 7 years. If the Yankees go back and do the same thing again next year, we're going to be right here again next year saying, I can't believe it, they didn't win the World Series. And will they bring Boone back again? Again? Oh, my goodness. At some point, a change is necessary. My dear friends, give to the Sesame Workshop. Go to Start Spreading the News. We are at the half-hour mark. Thank you so much for watching. Make today a great day. Make every day a great day. Let's go, Yankees. It should be a very exciting winter. Thank you for watching.